Hey everyone, it's Peter Bowden. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to this strategy session on growing congregations. This is really in preparation for the new year, the new congregational year, the fall. I'm Peter Bowden. I work with congregations from a range of traditions, from my Unitarian Universalist home tradition to really any congregation that really appreciates my practical approach, integrating different aspects of congregational life from welcoming and membership to hospitality, digital strategy, small groups, video. I really bring a lot of experience with different aspects of congregational life, including more new and emerging areas. So I've always worked on looking at what's coming next and trying to figure out how do we learn to adapt to our changing world. So if you're tuning in live, please say hi in the chat and know that you can ask questions as we go. I have a bunch of things I want to cover in terms of strategies related to helping you lead and grow your congregation this year. So I'm going to share some strategies that are very distinct strategies related to helping newcomers connect. But I also want to share a few things that are new and emerging that you need to have on your radar in terms of just making sense of our changing digital landscape, how people are connecting in community. So I'm just thankful for your being here. Before we dive in, can you say hi in the chat? Let me know where you're tuning in from. Hi, Karen. We have people from Rockville. Juliana, it's great to have you here. And again, if you're tuning in via the replay, so once this is over, feel free to say hi as well, because I check out all the comments and I answer questions after the stream is over as well. So I'll take questions live, and then as we go with the replay, keep connecting. All right, Seattle, Boulder, Colorado. Wow, some great Colorado turnout. Excellent. Fun fact, when I first went to college, I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder. A few years there. All right, so here's the structure of this. I'm using the theme. Let me grab my notes here. I have some notes. And I'll share via my email list. I will share some notes after the fact. So just know that I'll take the transcript, put together some summary, etc. so that you can share. If you're on my email list, subscribe now if you aren't via the link around the video. I'll share some notes. I want to try and do more. I can talk for a long time, but for me to sit down and write out all the points exactly in advance, I'm more organic than that. So we're going to use an after the fact, get the notes together and share with you approach, okay? So I want to talk about reconnecting with the vital and critical mission of congregations today. Touch on that. Reimagine our strategies for today's world. Our world has changed, and if we're going to lead, be of service, and help bring about the change we want in the world, we have to change our strategy as well. So we're going to reconnect with our mission, reimagine new strategies, and recenter. Friends, one of the things that we need more than anything, in addition to justice and all the things we've been working for, we need to help humanity reconnect and really facilitate the process of human beings coming together in community for meaningful connection and conversation. And that is a critical function I think congregations can have today. These are things we've been doing, but we need to take it to the next level because humanity is struggling. Any of you notice that there are ways in which our human society seems to be breaking down? Like there are basic social conventions and the way people tune into others around them that where I live, it's like that's shifting. Anyhow, so I want to recenter, for those of you who are interested in congregational growth, recenter on like how do we really be a center for promoting connection, meaningful conversation, and associated action in a very intentional way, because that is going to help you fulfill your mission. All right. Hello to everyone else. Pam, Roy, others. Oh, so many people. It's great to see you. All right. First, reconnecting with the mission of congregational life. Now, I work with congregations from a range of traditions. Again, raised Unitarian Universalist, married to a minister, work with lots of Unitarian Universalists. Hi, all my friends. But I also I bring kind of a how do human congregations in general function, and how can we strengthen our just humanity, human communities in general. So for other denominations, people from other traditions, I'm happy to talk with your communities, denominational staff, etc. as well. So the mission of congregations today, and I've been thinking about this and also talking with colleagues, is really, there's maybe the mission of your individual religion, but as congregations as a whole, that we're really being called to foster deep connections, cultivate shared meaning, and empower collaborative action. Really through inclusive hubs where we can bring people together to explore values, nurture relationships, and work to all those ends that you care so much about. And so much of that comes down to connection, meaning, and action. These are things I've been talking about for my entire career working with congregations, from my early days working with youth ministry, then young adult ministry, then helping to promote our popular small group ministry models within the Unitarian Universalist tradition. Just continually getting back to how do we connect people? How do we facilitate conversations about meaning, purpose, and then in terms of action? When we do a great job with that process, we start self-organizing, people start getting excited. The more we bring people together for connection and meaningful conversation, the more we can get people to say yes to volunteering, to social justice events, and all the other things that we're working on. So that's really important. I just think increasingly that we as congregations can, getting back to our center as places where we're promoting that connection, meaning, collective action, that we can, if we're very strategic with our programs, clear with our communication, that we can shift away from, I think, the trap of having programs that do that in a very member-oriented, like if you're already a member of my congregation and are used to this language and you know what chalices are, if you're a UU, like if we do a lot with programs that promote connection, meaning, and inspire action, wrapped in language that makes sense for our members after they've been through the process of connecting with us. But for the larger community, that often doesn't work. And so I think we need to really focus on how can we make that happen community-wide. So we're promoting connection, meaning, and action through our existing programs. Fantastic. But there are things we're going to talk about in this session that I think would be very beneficial in terms of you're really being seen as a center for promoting connection, meaning, action throughout your community. And just that little thing I was just saying about our mission, I'm just going to paste that in the chat if I can here. Hold on a second. Here we go. I'm going to do it in a few chunks because I can only do so many characters at a time. Here we go. All right. And last. Boom. There we go. See the chat for what I was just reading. All right. Now, so in terms of just reconnecting, I think for you as leaders here today, just thinking about like, what is your congregation called to do? And there's so many things that we talk about. There are things we care about. There's change that we want to see in the world. But when it comes to, I like to be very practical. I feel like so much of what we actually do that gets results is where we're actually bringing our members, friends, and the larger community together through specific processes for connecting, for facilitating meaningful conversation, and leading that transformation and the action. Does that make sense? Let me know if you're with me in the chat. All right. So just knowing that we really want to focus on that connection, meaning, action, and the processes and programs and events that can make that happen consistently without massive planning, without racking our brains, without burning out our volunteers, without tons of money. Like, we can use these processes consistently. They work. They've worked for years. They continue to work. People want this. And so friends, I'm saying let's really double down on how do we deliver for our members, those who are interested in connecting with us, possibly in our larger community. Make sure that everyone is connected in a meaningful way, is having meaningful conversations, and feels welcomed into efforts, collaborative efforts to lead change in your community. Now, let's shift to Reimagine. Our world is changing at lightning speed. Friends, if you're watching live or on the replay, how are you feeling about the rate of change, the rate at which technology is changing? I just had spent a lot of the first part of this year doing an AI-focused sabbatical. The change is mind-boggling. And so as our technology is changing and people are using the technology to explore in new ways, entertainment, all these different things, tell me in the chat if there's any kind of technologies that you're paying attention to and are particularly excited about, or maybe you're concerned about. That we need to make sure that our approach to gathering people, promoting membership, doing all hospitality, everything, that is in line with today's world. One of the key things that I've been talking about for years now is that there's been a shift from people, if I'm going to connect with your congregation, if I want to make sure if your congregation is right for me, maybe I'm going to bring my family. All of us. I have a daughter. I'm married. My wife, Amy Friedman, and I, when we moved back to the Cambridge area, we did the church shopping. How do people figure out if your congregation is right for them? Well, it used to be you have to go visit, right? You have to go visit. You have to spend time among the congregation, get to know the people, and actually try it, interact, and over a period of time, maybe it's weeks, maybe it's months, maybe it's years, get to the point where you're like, I really feel like I belong here. Well, that's gone. That way's gone for the majority of humans with the internet and mobile devices. What happens instead? And this is as the more I talk, the more people verify that this is in line with their experience. There are always exceptions, but just accept that for a lot of people, this is what happens. If I'm interested in doing something significant in my life, picking a congregation, or maybe it's we're going to a restaurant, or maybe I'm buying a book, any major decision, or even insignificant decision, people grab their devices, go online, and they do a search. As soon as you have something you have to decide, people are like, I'm going to go explore and figure out what's the deal, what's the answer, what's the right decision for me. And because we are trained to have access to information from Yelp reviews, Apple Maps, all these different things, Amazon reviews, photos of almost and video of anything we might do. Like I grew up as a teen. I was so introverted into my 20s. And so like as these technologies came on, I'm like, oh my God, if I'm gonna go someplace new, I can do a search and check out where it is in the map. And then they start adding photos and other things. And I'm like, oh, I can see exactly what it looks like. Oh, I'm so comforted. And then like there's little like on Google Maps and others, you can click around and see. And so like before I go and do something, I'm doing like this amazing level of research where like I'm going to a new Trader Joe's. I know not only where the parking lot is, maybe did a little virtual walk around just in front of it, just so I have a sense of like, oh, this is what I'm getting into. All right. That's like some of us just doing average things, buying something cheap, going out to a restaurant, picking this or that. What do you use the online research for? Let me know in the chat. And hi to everyone else joining in. Laura, Jennifer, Don, Glenda. So for newcomers to congregations, potential newcomers, They are basically trying, and this isn't always explicit in their mind, they're trying to make sure to like a high degree of certainty that your congregation is right for them. They know what to expect. They know where to go. They know that your leaders, well, they resonate with them. They like your leaders. Like your leaders, they know your leaders, and they know what you're about. They've gotten a taste of it, and they actually feel like, yes, this is the right place for me before they ever visit. How? How is that going to happen? How are you ever going to make that happen? Well, right now it's 2024. The norm where I am in the United States and across the world is leaders show up online using video and other content to communicate exactly what they do, exactly how they can help people, what they care about, stories of how they did this, stories of why they're doing that, testimonials of people who did all these other things. And so the average human being today, if you're interacting with a new organization, a new leader, a new community, a new nonprofit, that the norm is I should be able to go online, see all these different details, and get a sense of what the leaders are like to the point where my anxiety, uncertainty questions are addressed, and I have a high degree of confidence. So our challenge is, if somebody gets to the point where like, ooh, I think I might go check out that congregation, or I heard about that congregation, or I was driving by and I saw not only the Black Lives Matter banner, but the Pride Progress flag out front. When we did the Pride Month at the congregation I attend, not only do we have Black Lives Matter flag and the Progress flag with the transgender colors, and all these other, so that flag, but we had this giant flag that was for the Pride Parade in town that we strung between two trees. So it was like this huge suite of giant long, 30-foot long rainbow flag, then the other banners. And so imagine somebody sees that. I'm like, oh, who are these people? They pull over on their car, pull out the phone, look, where am I? I'm here. And so that's the map location for this place. Who are they? And so their path to connecting with your congregation may start by something's a catalyst, like those banners, and then they start with their map app. And from there, what do they experience? What do they see? Is there anything that's compelling? And so I shared a link in the chat to a free workshop I have, 1 hour workshop called Building a Digital Path to Membership, that covers all these different issues. It's really my orientation for leaders like you and others in your congregation. Free, 1 hour, just going through how we need to use digital tools, digital strategy, content on our websites, etc. And also looking at where we have a presence online to help people when they say pull out the map app or something else, that we actually create a nice path from them to easily go from there, say the map app, to your website, to whatever it is that you want them to do to connect successfully. So it's a huge shift in terms of psychology that, there's a while when we had websites, and like I remember I was actively working with congregations when the first website started coming online, and volunteering for my home congregation. And we were talking about like your website's like the front door to your congregation. And like people would use that to find their way to your congregation on site. Well, now I think it would be valuable for you to think of your online experience that you offer newcomers from wherever they interact with you first. Is it on Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it on a map app or a Yelp review or whatever it is? That experience, including going through your website and looking at photos, video, that collective content available online, on demand anytime, that is their first experience. That is their first visit. So when you think, is someone going to come back to our congregation after their first visit? You know how important that first visit is, right? Like if they don't feel a sense of connection, rapport, are they going to come back? Well, Today, it's their interaction with all that content online. When they're doing their self-guided, independent exploration of your congregation, that's their first experience. And so some of the ways that we can really help people feel that sense of connection is, something I've talked about a lot, is video. Like that, you can, and this can be very simple. I talk about this in my training program, Video Ministry Academy, also known as Video Message Academy. I'll tell you, I have some ideas for how to do that a little differently this season, so I'll tell you about that in a second. With that video strategy, I'm going to give you a little quick overview of that, just so you can get in your mind, like, oh, here's that makes sense. So when we're going online as a newcomer, researching a congregation, like they saw the banners, they get to your website, like, what is it? Who are these people? Is it right for me and my family, or just me? And what they're looking for, whether they admit it or know it or not, and whether you like it or not, is a sense of belonging. Like if they're going to come in person or attend online live, that there needs to be a sense of connection and rapport and understanding in a visceral, felt sense that they're in the right place, that you will like them and care. That's very hard to communicate just in text. Some of you are amazing writers, and you can use simple photos and text to write messages that can start to evoke that. But recording a simple video so that and you can use multiple videos, when people land on your website, there's a human being. So they land on your website, and so the 3 videos that I tell congregations to prioritize, because we can use them for a lot of benefit, and it's very straightforward, is a welcome video, so that when people land on the website, there's not like an expensive, we took 10 years to produce a $5,000 video that's like the history of our congregation. There's all the footage and the photos and the Ken Burns effect and music and fanciness. No. There's a video of a human being recorded very much like this, or standing in front of your congregation, or on a Zoom setup, whatever you want to do, but a human being, essentially like an online greeter, standing at that digital front door, is able to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, maybe the role, and say, on behalf of congregation, I want to welcome you here. We are and give them a snapshot of the congregation and affirm what people are looking for today. Say connection, meaning, working together to change our world, whatever the things that you value, but like a quick snapshot, a paragraph of your congregation, what you're doing in terms of your mission, your focus, the kind of things your congregation does or cares about, and invite them to connect. And then where do they connect? You send them to your visitor page. On the visitor page, there's video number 2. All right, that is a landing page for newcomers video. What does that mean? When people are looking to connect with the congregation in this age where like people like to know what to do and want to have certainty, and also there's heightened anxiety. So like the more clarity we can have, the more likely people are going to follow through and actually do what you encourage them to do. The more clarity we have, the more likely people are going to follow through with what you recommend as a default process for connecting successfully. So what I recommend on your welcome page, your visitor landing page, is you have someone who's like a greeter from your welcome table, and again, like this, and you say, hey, I'm Peter, I'm on our welcome team, and then what you do is reiterate that snapshot, and then you offer them clear guidance on how to connect, and have a little form where they can get sign up here to RSVP for the thing you want them to do. And you let them know that you're going to send them all the details automatically. Maybe you're using MailChimp, and as soon as they submit the form, or Breeze, or any of the church software, church database software, as soon as they RSVP, they're going to get their information packet. And so you're really taking the lead, so that when they follow up and do the thing you said to do, and you have to decide what that is, that they have the information, they have a plan, and that connects directly to whatever you're offering for newcomers as like, this is the way we're helping you connect. Okay. Does that make sense? That those videos can kind of like really, and the third video, sorry. The third video is Meet the Minister video. Why do we need Meet the Minister's video? Because no one is going to go to a congregation until they've met the minister. They want to know who the minister is first. Some people will. If you've been to a congregation for years, like you went to that congregation, you move town and you're going to go to the same kind of congregation here, you're like, hey, I'm going to go. All right, fine. But someone who has no experience with religion, like if they using my example, they saw the banners and they're like, what is this? I didn't know there were congregations that care about these things. And they're looking and it's like, well, that sounds really interesting. But like, there's ministers, there's worship services. Like, what is this all about? Are these people? I moved out of my focus. Are these people like weird religious, freaky? Like, what's it going to be like for you to show who your minister is, and have your minister offer a personal introduction to who they are? That is like a key piece in the puzzle. Am I going to visit? So I want you to think, all the people who go to your website, all the people who go, there's a huge chunk of them that were like, maybe I'll go. But then if you don't give them a way to really get to know your minister, maybe there's anxiety. Well, you could say, well, they could just watch our worship service videos. We have like 100 videos of old worship services. Those tend to be kind of like longer, not optimized for short online attention spans, not ideal. What we want to do is actually have your minister or whoever your leaders are. This works if you're a fellowship, whatever your structure is, the leaders that people are going to be expecting to connect with, whoever's leading your congregational life, for them to be able to be like, oh, wow, suppose I'm that person. And they get to know me on that Meet the Leader page, and in that video, they're like, oh, wow, Peter grew up Unitarian Universalist, and now he's doing this thing at the whatever congregation. He seems nice and friendly, a little over-caffeinated, but man, I relate. Like, he seems nice. I feel comfortable going. And then, boom, they're likely to be willing to go. So, welcome video, an overview of congregation, a specific here's how to connect on your visitor page, and then the Meet the Minister or whatever leaders. And you can do this for all of your key staff, your leaders, different committees. If you get into it, there's no end to how we can use video to help people connect with us. That content is just like gold in terms of helping people feel like, oh, I get it. Now, my training, Video Message Academy for Congregations, which is also run under the name Video Ministry Academy, this season, as of now, August 2024, I'm going to play around with doing it a little differently. Here's what I'm going to ask you a question right now, and I'd love your feedback. So that's been an on-demand course that I've done live Q&A sessions for, kind of leading people through that program. I find that it's very hard for busy ministers to watch, and other leaders, to watch on-demand content. So I'm thinking about offering the exact same training, but through a series of live Zoom sessions with the on-demand content and all of like the temp, like I have content outlines for what I think you should include in the different videos and other strategies. Would you be interested in live Zoom training around how to use video to engage with potential newcomers and all these things we're just talking about? If so, let me know in the chat. I'm going to play around with that, and then we'll have kind of the traditional on-demand program available very shortly. And then I'll also be doing some kind of live version. So those of you who want to get like a single 2-hour session, we can go through all the details with the handouts, answer all the questions. I think that could be very helpful. All right, moving on. So if somebody gets to the point where they actually are going to visit your congregation live, and this also applies for the visiting online, however you do that, Zoom or something else. But let's focus on site for a second. When people are going to connect, The thing I want you to understand or consider is that in the world, which I mentioned earlier in the session, where we had to spend time being amongst a congregation live on campus in their building with the people to learn what it's like pre-internet culture. Back then we had to spend time. Then as we started marching through the decades, the 90s, the 2000s, the amount of time I find that people are willing to spend feeling awkward and not like people know them is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Until today, I think we're at a point where for many, 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 many people, including those who've are digital natives, some of it has to do with whether you're introverted or extroverted, the amount of time they're willing to spend in your congregation feeling not known, awkward, is one visit. That first time they connect. They go to your building for a worship service or something else. If they're not feeling connected by the end of that, forget it, goodbye. All right, maybe they'll give you 2 tries. And depending on their personality, some people just are really strong and confident. They know they got this long term. Maybe 3. I think you should assume that it's going to be very short. If you can optimize your strategy, I'm going to tell you what I recommend in a second, or some ideas. The more you can optimize your process for delivering connection and a sense of belonging, and I've moved through the awkward nobody knows me phase to that first day, that's going to make a huge difference. Do any of you have observations around shifts in how people are feeling? I remember the past couple years, I'm married to a minister. I tend to go, unless I'm speaking somewhere, I go with my family to our congregation, and I'm always walking around and talking to people. And in September last year and the year before, I was amazed. When I'd say hi to a newcomer and kind of get some conversation started about how they what brought them there, just kind of open the door for them to talk to me, and they're like, "Oh, hi, Peter. So I need friends. I've been living in a cave and I need friends." That was kind of coming out of the pandemic, but I was interested that 2 years ago, it was people were "I need friends." This last year, they're still "I need friends." And the amount of people coming and looking to connect once they actually show up on site has been really powerful. But also what do I do to connect? They arrive, and I've had lots of interactions with people what's the process? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it's basically, all right, I got myself here. Will you take over and get me connected and get me through this awkward, I'm new here, nobody knows me phase, right now, okay? So I think just my experience supports directly that people are looking for that. How do you do that? Now, there's so many congregations that have less staff than they used to have, lower membership compared to pre-pandemic, whatever it is, regardless of your congregation size. We're all dealing with budget issues, staffing issues, dealing with changing culture. What I think is very helpful to do is just know I haven't had a chance to read all the comments and questions yet, but I'm going to go back in a minute and scan. When people are on your website, on the visitor page, and on social, if you're sharing stuff on social media, you could share your welcome video, your meet the minister video, any of that content we were talking about, or any other video, and a link, say on Facebook, to your visitor page. Oh, haven't connected with us yet? We'd love to meet you. Here's a link on how to get connected. So on that page, your visitor landing page, I want you to think about this is, you're helping them land an airplane. Here's the runway. This is exactly what to do. You're coming in not just hey, come whenever, but runway 2, and you're going to gate 4. Like it's like that level of precision. So for us, what does that look like? You have to decide what works for you. But here's some ideas. 1, I want every newcomer that shows up at your congregation, goes to a service, I want you to convince them to go to your fellowship time after. And so that takes a little effort, but you let them know that and you can do this before they even visit, on that visitor page, that in your fellowship space where you have a welcome table or wherever your welcome table is, if you can set it up so that you have either a table and chairs or just a half circle of chairs, but some kind of space for human beings to sit and talk to each other, so that as people come to your welcome table, you're welcoming them. Maybe you're sitting down and talking to them, giving them some information. But then as somebody else comes up to the table, you say, oh, hi, I'm just going to go talk to these people. I'll be right back. And then you talk to them, and however you design it, or kind of like the flow, basically your welcome table, everyone's coming to it. People are being directed there. You told them to come to it online in that video maybe. And then as people come, you're introducing the newcomers to the other newcomers that day. That's one of the most powerful things you can do. I do that on Sundays when I'm just floating. I see a newcomer, and when I see another newcomer, it's kind of like I'm doing forming a chain of people. I'll say, oh, there's someone over there I haven't met yet. You might want to come with me. I want to meet them, and then we can keep talking. And so I take the newcomer, and we walk over to another newcomer, and quick intros, continue the conversation. And then I see another newcomer. I'm like, let's all go walk over to the other newcomer. Then all of a sudden there's 3 of them and me talking. Then when the next newcomer is spotted, I say, oh, I see someone I want to go say hi to. Well, I'll be right back. And I leave them talking. And they start talking. And what have I done? You made this little tiny mini small group where what's happening? Connection, conversation. What I also encourage people to do is ask people to share just like the story of how they came to be there. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, but try and get people talking to each other. So imagine if as people are coming to your congregation, forget any bigger programming, you're just actually bringing them to your welcome table, inspiring them to go there, and connecting them with people sitting or standing nearby. I think sitting is good. Having a table if you have the space is great. Do you recognize like the simplicity of that? As people come into your congregation, you are facilitating them meeting other newcomers to the point where by the time they leave, they're already like, they don't even get away from the welcome table without getting to the point where they're known, they've shared their story, they've heard the story of a few other people, and they have a sense that when they come back, they're going to be known. And just like connecting the newcomers like that, I find that if you connect, say, 3 or 4 people, the next week they come back and talk to those people. And it's almost like this informal newcomer class that starts navigating congregational life together. All right, so there's that. Another option, and these are just some very simple things you can do separate from regular, like some classic things are, a monthly meet the minister, other leaders, and a little Q&A after the service. Another thing is having just regular newcomer classes. But in terms of the simplicity, optimizing your welcome table to take the newcomers and they kind of connect them together, that's powerful. And then before the service, say a half hour before the service, have people gather, and they can RSVP for this if you want on that page, for a tour, Q&A, and then after you do that, kind of like a walking tour of your facility and just talking about programs, answering questions. You told them that with whatever time's left between the tour and the service, there's coffee and some refreshments. And so by the people go on the tour, and then maybe it's quarter of, they get to sit and talk to each other with coffee, whatever, in your fellowship space, and know that they can, if they want, go to the service together. And so you've oriented them to the congregation, answered some questions, and in like 15 minutes, like keep it real short, you just connected the newcomers which is powerful, as I said, gotten them oriented, and they have people potentially to go to the service with. Amazing. So those are just two super, super simple. If you have things that you're doing to rapidly connect newcomers in terms of like, I'm thinking, what can you do every single time you gather for your services? How do you get those newcomers to connect? What do you do? So the more we can do that, just be like one shot, boom, they show up, we're connecting them, the better. Yeah, thanks, Janet, for the comment that we really need to take charge of connecting people. So I think it's helpful to think of the process of getting connected with people in the congregation, meeting others. That used to happen organically over time, and it would happen. People just would put in the effort, and it would happen. Some people, like I have relatives who are like, I'm never going to coffee hour, I can't stand it. But I think the world's changed enough so that that informal connecting process doesn't happen fast enough or at all now for the majority of people. And so that if we're not intentionally connecting newcomers through through articulated, specific, agreed upon strategies, then you don't have a strategy for connecting people and don't assume to grow. Think about like snapping Legos together or something. Like you have to, like once upon a time, they snap together and build themselves. Now you got to do it. You have to do it. All right, let's move on. Let me just look at some questions. How long should, I think I saw something about how long should a Meet the Minister video be? From Meet the Minister videos, it could be 3 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. The main thing is that when people are looking at that video, they're in the process of trying to make an important decision. And when you're like researching something important to you and you have focus and you're like, I want to know what the deal is. So say they're looking at your congregation's website, they go to the Meet the Minister or the staff page, and there's a Meet the Minister video link, or it takes you to a staff page. If you're telling a compelling story of your journey and this and that and the other things, if it's longer, that's fine. So it's like as short as possible while accomplishing the goals. And again, I go into more detail in some of my trainings on like exactly what we can do, and there's a lot of little like psychology and nuance to some of that, but ultimately like just show up online as your authentic human being, whether it's any of the videos I mentioned that you're like, try and think of yourself like, if someone were to show up to our website questioning whether or not they belong here, if they're welcome here, if we have rapport, what would you say to them? And do that as without going too long. All right. Now, let's see. How are we doing for time? All right. I want to move through our last section on promoting, on really recentering our focus on facilitating connection and conversation. So a lot of our congregations have small group programs, small group ministry programs. We have lots of programs where they're very oriented towards existing members. So I come from a Unitarian Universalist tradition, and while being very open to people from different backgrounds, traditions, a lot of the names that I see congregations giving their small group programs are really insider language, like Chalice Circle, covenant groups, just soul this, like that. For someone who is new and maybe not oriented towards religion, that is such a barrier. So first, I think that in today's world where people are hungry for connection and community, the top name that we can use includes community group. So if you're a First Parish, whatever, you might have, hey, your small group ministry or whatever the official program name is, you might say, our groups are called such and such community groups. So that you're really trying to emphasize that everyone in our congregation, all of our members and friends, we're organizing in community. And we encourage people to participate maybe not all the time, but at regular times, connecting with our community group program. And you do the exact same thing as in small group ministry, but you're not using such religious language. You're just talking about community groups. Now, there are so many people who want connection, meaning to be part of collective action, but are not necessarily looking for a congregation or don't realize that congregational life would be of interest to them. What I think we need to be doing more of, and I'm going to work on some resources related to this. I'm going to set up one of our upcoming, I'm getting back into the weekly live stream routine for this month and into the fall. One of the upcoming ones will be dedicated to the concept or approach of using community experiences hosted in your congregation. And here's the vision I have for this. Having an event on timely topics. It could be pop cultural things that are happening. It could be classical challenges that your congregation is working on, whether it's gun violence or dealing with political division or aspects of the exploration that you're doing as a congregation. But whatever the topics are, that we are taking topics of interest to the larger community and publicizing an event, inviting people to come in for a community group-oriented event where in the event, it's not programs and speakers, panelists, which we have so many of, but that you structure the event, and I'm working on a guide for this, is you invite people in, there's a gathering, opening where you welcome people, highlight the need for connection, community, and working together to be engaged with the issues of our time, from climate change to what artificial intelligence is going to do to humanity and our civilization, to maybe pop culture things like, hey, the Barbie movie, whatever it is. Speak to some of the issues, but then you move people into small groups where you have just a focused conversation using a clear structure, which is very similar perhaps to your ongoing member-focused community group program, small group ministry. But basically, we're having small groups for your entire community happening in community experience events where you, on a focused theme, can invite people in. So if you think about it, you take, what are the things that your community is actively attending to or is interested in? Or maybe it's just, you want to grow your congregation and you have a really strong young family, a little core of young families, pretty small, but they all love sci-fi. And so you're going to do some kind of science fiction focused, or maybe it's an artificial intelligence focused event open to the whole community, but you're bringing people in with the intention, and this has to be articulated, of having people connect with other people in the community, discuss like that topical issue, make some new friends, snip, snap, that's it, done. Now, you're not trying to get, forcing them, join our church, get involved in this other program, but we start using more, we're starting to facilitate the connection, meaning, action process for our larger community by inviting people in on focused themes that we know the larger community cares about. So I think the more we can start developing a practice of doing this, and I'm going to start identifying congregations where I can help do this too, and do different testing and experimenting. Or if you're interested, once we do that live stream, let me know. Maybe I can help you fine tune your process, answer questions. That we have people coming through the congregation on these community experience events where it's great community group process. And then the people who are and you can certainly be explain why it is that you care about that issue. And if you have people in community groups, and if in all the community groups there's a member of your congregation, then at the end people are this was so great. I used to lead one-shot events at congregations to help them promote their small groups, and every time we did the little short 45-minute conversations, at the end people are this is so great, I wish we could keep talking or meeting like this. And they're well, we have our small group program, you should join it. And oh, okay, let's do it. So having a community group focused event that you periodically in a strategic way offer makes you of service to your congregation, service to your larger community, it's totally in line, can be totally in line with what your congregation is about. If you're doing theme-based ministries, you can tie it in with that. And that's the type of event, because it's a community-wide invitation, you could partner with other congregations, other nonprofits. You could have a little table fair if you wanted, and a great way to get news coverage with very little preparation. All right, so that's the community group kind of experience I'm thinking about. In conjunction with that, I'm working on taking the small group models that I've worked with for years within congregations and making that as just a model that anyone can use for community groups anywhere. So I'm calling that the Decentralized Community Project. I'm giving away my best insight on how humans can connect in community groups for free. Be releasing that this fall too. Why am I, someone who cares so much about congregational life, thinking about how do we connect the larger community in community groups, and how do you give away a formula, a template, so that anyone can have connection and community wherever they are? Well, for me, you have any ideas why? Because it comes down to mission. If our mission is to or a core aspect of our mission as congregations is to promote connection and meaning and inspire collective action on the issues of our time, work for justice, more compassion, to unify our broken world, to limit it to, we're going to do that with people who are existing members, is a very small vision. But if we expand that like an art, and we're going to invite people in regularly, maybe it's quarterly, for community experiences using the community group model, then that's, all of a sudden we can get more people cycling through our congregation in relationship with each other. People always used to say, oh, you need to go get to know your neighbors and invite them to church. Well, I think it's easier to invite people, like run a community experience on something that's really exciting and get all your members to share it on their social media networks and invite their friends. But you're designing something that's awesome, single shot event that's relational. And then by giving away the model for how do we connect in small groups in a decentralized, non-hierarchical way, we're teaching humans, hopefully, how to stay in relationship and forget, like beyond social media, like we need to reconnect. And I want anyone on earth who wants to connect with other humans to have a proven way of doing that. And so that's what that's about. And the more people, it's not, it takes energy to organize a small group. So you get people excited about meeting in groups by giving away the decentralized community approach. Well, a lot of people are going to think about that, but then not organize their own group. But then they see, oh, here are community experiences using essentially the same kind of community group model. They can go to that. And so if we do it really well, and this is not to be like, want to turn everyone into a member of your congregation, but the more we get people oriented towards the need for connection and community, that we have a clear model for how to do that. We're helping the larger community do that, and we have ongoing programs. I think that's a very strategic, community-focused, community group-focused, practical model that we can really get laser focused on, and it's relational. And for me, the most important thing, and I want to end here, is that people continue to show up in congregations when their friends are in the congregation. The number one thing you can do to grow your congregation, connect people in authentic relationships, have them share their stories, the things that you're talking about in services, have them talk about that. The more we can do that, so we get to more focused relational growth. Very quickly, I want to say, and I'll share a video on this sometime soon. Social media is changing so that now it's all going towards algorithms. What does that mean? Once upon a time, if someone said, I like your church, click Facebook, they would get served content from your congregation. Well, then Facebook realized, people watch more ads if they're in Facebook groups. So they downshifted the amount of people that your Facebook page content would go to and prioritize groups. So, a number of years ago, now it's getting closer to 5 years ago, they deprioritized Facebook pages and made groups more the priority. And now they're like, forget likes and groups. We know what people watch. We're tuning into all their data. If you stop and watch a hedgehog video, a cute hedgehog floating in the sink, taking a bath, they know you like hedgehogs and cute animal videos. I stopped on one of those videos to show my family because our congregation had a group come and bring animals, and there was a hedgehog. So like, we had just seen a hedgehog. So I'm like, hey, check out this cute hedgehog. All of a sudden, my social media feeds started, Facebook, Instagram, they went cute animal, like instantly. And guess what? I kind of like cute animals, and so it's kind of stayed that way. So I have like social media, technology, innovation, and cute animals all the time. But the takeaway for congregations is that increasingly the content people see via social media is what the algorithms know they want to see. And that's very hard for us because it means your content, unless the algorithms believe that the people, like your members and the people you want to reach, if they're not watching content like what you're sharing, especially video, they're not going to show your content. So most of you are probably getting very little interaction on your social media content on Facebook now and other sites because it's all going towards the algorithm. So what do? We can pay for advertising. We can use other strategies. For me, ultimately, like, we have to get relational, which gets back to that, like, yeah, we still need to use social media, but we need to get connecting. We need to connect people, lead awesome events so that people are like, oh, I went to the most amazing community experience talking about, what's the new movie coming out? Deadpool and Wolverine. No, not that one. But, something, or whatever the issue is. And they're talking to their friends about it. What's this community experience? And relationally grow the congregation. I think that's the future. All right, I'm going to wrap up there because that's our time. If you have questions, could you, or things that I didn't have a chance to cover, drop them in the chat now, and I'm going to attend to that and make sure that I'm going to answer some questions when I get off the live stream. But I want to end by saying thank you for your leadership. The world needs congregations. Your congregation has an amazing role to play in your community. I know that there are very challenging times in terms of shifting, change of technology, budget issues, membership decline, pandemics, all these things. But fundamentally, people are looking for connection and community. And all the things happening in our world are making that need even greater. And so if we really focus on being in that business, not that we're businesses, but make that our mission, that we really recenter our focus on, like, all right, how do we facilitate connection and community and help spark action in meaningful ways that almost like a flywheel, we can start building momentum, and one friend makes another friend and people start talking, and we can really see, I think, amazing transformation. So thank you for being here. Let me know your questions, and I'm going to make this my new default weekly live stream time on congregational life, growth, other related issues, 1 o'clock Eastern time, Tuesdays. All right, thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Now for the questions, let's see.